Welcome to my channel, The Poet Clive. My name is Clive Robinson, and I thought in this video I'd give a brief introduction and history into poetry. So when did it all start? Poetry has its roots in ancient Greek civilizations, and other previous civilizations also cultivated poetry. Some of the earliest known poems were recently found on clay tablets in Mesopotamia that date back some 5,000 years. Wow! Poetry. Poetry would often be a form of epic poetry that would be used in storytelling. You have to remember that even in more recent ages, many people could not read. So storytelling in the form of poetry helped with memorization. And it was also a means of oral transmission in both prehistoric and ancient societies. Even today, poetry is used in children's storytelling. The author, Julia Donaldson, who wrote the classic children's story, The Gruffalo, is a story in rhyme. And of course, our own childhood memories of the ageless nursery rhymes like Hickory Dickory Dock. So is poetry relevant in today's society? Well, yes. Poetry is all around us. For instance, if you strip back the tunes to thousands upon thousands of songs, and you will see the lyrics is nothing more than plain poetry. Let me give you an example. Take the song Love Is All Around, first recorded by the Trogs and then later by Wet Wet Wet. I feel it in my fingers, I feel it in my toes, love is all around me, is everywhere I go. Or the Beatles classic Yesterday. Why she had to go, I don't know, she wouldn't say. I said something wrong, now I long for yesterday. So music is really poetry that is sung. So how did I get into poetry? I suppose it's in the blood. My father wrote many poems. Unfortunately, they are now lost, as my dad, when he wrote a poem, would often give it away to someone. And of course, in the 1960s and 70s, when he was writing most of his poetry, there were no computers to back your writing up. I suppose the talent lay dormant in me for many years, and somehow it was awoken in me, I would say about 20 years ago. And to be honest, I believe it has its roots in my deep Christian faith. There are today so many styles of poetry. Many do not rhyme. But you've only got to hear a poem that's not in verse to tell that it is sheer poetry. For me, I love rhyming verse. That in more modern poetry dates back to the 19th century and the Victorian era. And of course, has its roots in earlier, as I said earlier, back in prehistoric and ancient times. So who are the poetry greats? Well, undoubtedly, the greatest would be William Shakespeare. We've only just celebrated 400 years of finding some of his works that could have so easily been lost. But he wasn't just a great poet. He was also probably the greatest playwright that ever lived. Other greats would include Lord Byron, William Wordsworth, with the classic poem The Daffodils. There's Longfellow, and the writer of the nonsense poems, Edward Lear. There's Robert Burns, the Scottish bard, more famous for the song that we sing every New Year's Eve, Auld Lang Syne, which was just originally a poem. By the way, it means in English, for old time's sake. I could go on with many more poets. Like the many classic painters, Poetry is an art form, and I'm proud to be part of that art form. Will I ever join the ranks of the greats? Probably not. But you know what they say, an artist or a poet only becomes famous when they're dead. I'd like to conclude this brief history with a short poem that I wrote many years ago. It comes from my Christian beliefs. It's called Don't Play Games with the Devil. He cheats. For obvious reasons, there are no slide or video images to this poem, but I believe it should act as a warning to all of us not to toy with things that we shouldn't. Don't play games with the devil. He cheats. Cross my palms with silver, your fortune to tell, or are you somehow hooked under her spell? Was it tea leaves or tarot cards her web to spin? We are all losers here, only the devil will win. You follow your star sign, your horoscope to read. It's only a bit of fun, but your belief is the seed that grows in your soul like a cancer within, and deep down inside you know it's a sin. Man looks to the stars to find what is real. You believe in nothing that you cannot feel, but your soul searches on to find truth that are lies. The fortune teller smiles, but there's death in her eyes. She has lucky heather, but you don't open your purse. Then again, maybe you should, in case you place a curse. A wildflower or not, surely can pose no harm. Or are you trapped under the gypsy's charm? You play with the Ouija boards as if it's a game, a bit of a laugh with others and seem so tame. Then a seance to contact the dead, faster your heart beats. So don't play games with the devil. He cheats. Thank you for listening. I hope to be putting more poems with videos on this channel in the not too distant future, and maybe I hope to get one or two out before Christmas. Thank you for listening.